Whoa. Warheads, hello? I still have no idea what is Metroidvania, by the way. Like, this is my first ever Metroidvania, and I still have no idea what this genre is. Holy, you got a whole Google Doc? Wait, I missed out on so much stuff. I thought I explored most of the map, but like, oh my. No way that the rancid eggs actually have lore, right? That would be so funny, actually. King Kong size libido. What if he gains feelings for Hornet? Grandpa Grub had a really nice time? What does that mean? Whoa. Guys, this is gonna be a 1-hour video. Are you guys ready? But yes, guys, we're gonna be watching the mostly complete lore of Hollow Knight by MOSSBAG. Because again, I just beat Hollow Knight. So yeah, this video is gonna be a long one, of course. If you guys are gonna be here the whole time, get some popcorn. It's time to watch some lore. Hold on. What the fuck? Okay.
If you were to ask me, what is your favorite video game ever made? I would have to say Cory in the House for the Nintendo DS. But Hollow Knight would be a close second. Hollow Knight was released on February 24th, 2017 by
Popcorn
Team
Time
Jeyraident,
Banana.
an indie
Oh, hello,
game studio based
Ahapan.
in the
How you
mythical
doing?
land of
On
Adelaide,
YouTube chat, how you
South
doing?
Australia. Over the past 3 years, Hollow Knight has become an indie darling. The game has sold over 3.5 million copies.
Jeez, that's a lot of
The
copies.
opening game at ADGQ 2019.
Awesome games done quick. I haven't heard that for so long.
T-shirts, nicotine patches, nuclear warheads, and even records for all you goddamn hipsters.
Warheads, hello?
When making Hollow Knight, they wanted to create a world.
You're taking Hollow Knight to war?
Completely lost in exploration. We can see this desire in Hollow Knight's design. The levels in Hollow Knight are massive, with secrets and rewards hidden in every nook and cranny. Be that powerful charms, special abilities, or the game's navigation system requires the player to work for the map, forcing them to make a stronger mental image of the world in their head. Christopher Larkin's score and Ari Gibson's artwork lend to this as well.
I love their art, it's so cute.
The player won't want to leave. But there's one aspect of Hollow Knight that keeps people like me coming back. The world building.
True. Watching the lore of Hollow Knight? Yes,
When
conjunctive.
Super Metroid
And we're gonna be here for an hour and
1994,
20 minutes.
It stood out for its amazing sense of immersion. Now in 1994, I was busy not being alive, but I've watched enough YouTube video essays to know that this game was a big deal. In case you didn't know, Super Metroid is basically the granddaddy of all Metroidvanias. That's why they're called Metroidvania.
I still have no idea what is Metroidvania, by the way.
There are moments to give the player a sense of depth. Basically, the feeling that this world exists outside of Samus's interactions with it. In the room right before that diabetic crocodile thing, Samus can find the corpse of a random soldier.
Like, this is my first ever Metroidvania.
Gameplay at all, but
and I still have no idea what this genre is.
Exploring. Who was this guy? Why was he here in the first place? Did he like jazz?
Like,
now, finding dead bodies and other random garbage
nodding?
is
Oh my
cool,
god.
Right? Well, Hollow Knight basically does the same thing, about a dozen times.
Damn.
Through its world building, Hollow Knight turns
MOSSBAG's video is great. It does seem like it.
You can sense
I like
the
his
ancient history of the land when you look at dilapidated structures.
I like the pacing on
or
this video.
giant barred doors. Nothing feels like it was put into the game randomly.
True.
There's a reason for it all.
Yeah.
Except those reasons aren't the easiest to uncover. Hollow Knight's
exactly, that's why we're here.
Layers of NPC dialogue,
Fuck Zote,
item
bro.
descriptions,
Fuck that,
lore
man.
tablets, and even additional content like the Quarrel comic and Fangamer's Wanderer's Journal. These past 3 years have seen an insane amount of research by the Hollow Knight community to make sense of Team
Holy,
Jeyraident's
you got a whole
world.
Google Doc?
We've even made it to the point where people are looking at the in-game signs to try and decipher Hallownest's logographic language. In this video, I hope to give you a long and detailed look into the world of Hollow Knight, exploring Hallownest's history and uncertain future. When I'm not busy making surprisingly accurate Super Smash Bros. Roster speculation videos, or insightful podcasts about beloved subjects like the Donkey Kong Country television series, or whatever this was supposed to be, I'm usually making videos about Hollow Knight. And while I am a seasoned Hollow Knight lore expert, I cannot confirm that every musing or theory presented in this video is completely correct.
Jesus.
I highly recommend checking out the lore section of the Hollow Knight wiki if you want a more neutral explanation of Hollow Knight's lore. But if you're too lazy to read, then I suggest you sit
That's
back,
me.
order some Domino's pizza,
I
or
would
just
go.
grab a block of cheese from the fridge and enjoy the mostly complete lore
Bro,
of Hollow Knight.
bro, pizza would be great right now. By the way, fucking 1 a.m.
It's a simple fact of life that every human worships a god, be that technology, ideologies, or in rare cases, God. As it turns out, the bugs in Hallownest pretty much operate in the same way. From the mosskin born from the dream of a giant slug, to the emo kids of the ancient civilization who literally worship the darkness, there is no shortage of things to worship in the world of Hollow Knight.
Pizza, hell
Our
yeah.
story begins with a creature very much worthy of worship. A creature born from the carcass of a worm. The carcass can still be found in the Kingdom's Edge, and it's our only good look at what worms actually looked like. At the
This
time
big
Hollow
thing,
Knight
holy.
occurs, it is suggested there are
Damn.
no worms left in the world.
This kind of
They were
reminds
incredibly
me
long creatures
that we have
featured
not done the
little to no
third
limbs.
Colosseum
Another more
yet.
mysterious property of worms was that they had some kind of prescience or foresight. Basically, they could see
I really
the
love the
future to
design of some of
capacity.
the characters.
It
It's so
isn't clear
cute.
how effective this ability was. Considering how the entire
How
race went
fat that
extinct,
fucking bug is,
this
bro.
foresight ability must have been pretty shit. Getting back to this particular worm carcass, it is explained that this worm traveled across the distant
The
mountains
good
and
MOSSBAG,
wastelands beyond
yeah.
Hallownest.
Watching the
Once
lore
arrived
video.
in
I will assume
the
that this is the
worm
big.
died.
Like, oh, what the?
Except not really.
This is the big
Inside
like
the maw of the carcass sits a pale
the big
broken
guy
egg,
of
out of which hatched a new form of worm, a
of
being
Hollow
of
Knight.
meager shell. This form of the worm is usually referred to as the Pale King, and he's the character basically responsible for everything that happens in Hollow Knight. The Pale King is a higher being, a type of creature that exists above all others.
Damn.
His body was said to shine with a radiant visage that harmed those who looked upon him. The ultimate goal of the Pale King seemed to be in line with that of other worms. A line from the cryptic Mr. Mushroom reads, "Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till
Dad?
ages pass
Is that our
and kingdoms
dad?
fall." In other
Wait,
words,
so-
it's just in their nature. Dogs wag their tails.
So worms
cats
are
bury their
worms
shit,
evil?
and worms bring massive amounts of bugs
I
into their
don't like
service
that.
in order to
Eee.
form long-standing kingdoms and
Eee,
civilizations.
get that off my
And here in
fucking
a far
screen.
corner of the world, the Pale King emerged from the corpse of his former self and began to build his eternal kingdom, Hallownest. There's this one slight problem. There's like people already living there. The area that would eventually become Hallownest was already filled with mantises, bees, moths, spiders.
I can't believe I'm watching a
mushrooms,
guy
and
watching a
bush
video. I'm sorry, but
Each of these groups were already operating.
I
with
just
their
needed
own
someone to
cultures
like
and
explain the
societies,
whole lore
and
for
each
me,
group
bro.
had a different interaction with the Pale King. One of the more receptive groups to the arrival of the Pale King were the mushrooms of the fungal wastes. These creatures were able to communicate with one another through one shared mind.
Ooh.
The mushrooms viewed this shared mind as a strength, and they were kind of smug dickheads about it. Ultimately, the mushrooms wearily accepted the Pale King's rule, viewing his foresight as a shield to the dangers of the future.
I never met this guy
Another
before.
group living in the fungal wastes is the
The
mantis
idiots,
tribe.
yeah, the idiots.
The mantises have a rich cultural history reaching back to long before the birth of Hallownest. The mantises are a proud tribe, believing in the importance of proving one's physical strength.
Yeah, the
The
mantis lords,
mantises
right?
are fiercely territorial, but will show respect to those who display great power.
Wait, what? Garfield?
4 powerful mantis lords, who I guess just kind of sat around waiting for outsiders to challenge them. The mantis tribe had
They
no
weren't that
interest in the
hard.
Pale King's kingdom, but the two
I think I
communities
first
did
tried
come to a
them.
truce. In exchange for their independence from Hallownest, the mantis tribe kept the beasts of Deepnest from invading Hallownest. Not sure why they didn't just go out the other exits from Deepnest, but whatever. I'm not an expert on border patrol. I don't work at ICE anymore. Let's move on to Deepnest. Now, many of the
Deepnest
different tribes
sucks.
of Hallownest were kind enough to leave lore tablets behind, detailing pretty much everything we need to know about them. Unfortunately, the bugs of Deepnest didn't do that.
I didn't get a
The
chance to
spiders of
dream nail
Deepnest
them. I
had
just
a
sat on the
monarchy
goddamn
because
chair.
Why not? Those are always good, right? Also, within Deepnest are a separate group of spiders that immigrated to Deepnest at some point in the past. This group was known as the Weavers, and they established their own culture and history within Deepnest. They used looms of silk to weave stories, spells, and shields. One thing we know for sure about Deepnest is that they really
Ornette.
didn't want anything to do with Hallownest. The struggles
Oh,
of
fucking
Deepnest Hallownest
Ornette.
relations would become painfully clear as time goes on, but for right now, it seems like the two remained fairly isolated from one another. Another section of pre-Hallownest includes Greenpath. Now, as far as we can tell, the mushrooms, mantises, and spiders of Deep Nest didn't worship any higher beings.
Oh.
There is this giant mushroom corpse in the fungal core, but I don't think this is a higher being. I mean, who the hell would want to worship a fat-ass mushroom? Fat-ass slugs? Now that's dope. The land we know as Greenpath was created by the higher being known as Un. Un used her great mind to dream the vegetation of Greenpath into the once barren caverns. Un's followers, the Mosskin, were also born out of Un's dream, making her their creator. Greenpath at its height was actually much larger than we see in
worship fat-ass mushrooms, Panda?
Greenpath stretched into both modern-day Queen's Garden and possibly Fog Canyon. Greenpath's citizens showed themselves to be a fairly developed society. They built a temple at the Lake of Un in order to worship her, and they even had their own line of defense, with Moss Knights showing proficiency in combat, using nails and shells as weapons. The law of Un continued to remain in effect even after the
mushrooms
Pale King
underrated.
arrived, but it seems like they allowed the king to establish a road through their lands, leading travelers to the heart of Hallownest.
Enoki kind of guy though.
Hence the name Greenpath. Yeah, Team Cherry really racked their brains when naming this area, didn't they? Next, we have the bees.
The
And while there
bees?
is no lore on how these bees can turn into fucking drills, or how they can ignore all known laws of aviation, we do know how they reacted to the Pale King.
I don't know what this
These
is.
bugs decided
I
to
never
seal their
passed
hive
this
off from the
place.
rest of the world,
I passed the bees
with only
though. I passed the
patrols
bee
being able to
enemies. Like
enter
just
and exit
just
the
solely
hive.
the bees.
So yeah, the
Like
bees
this
are pretty
one, the
much
small
pointless in
fuckers.
this story. And finally, we have the Moth tribe. In-game, the only moth settlement is in the Resting Grounds, but the tribe might have also inhabited the Crystal Peak at one point. Now, as we all know, moths in real life are just complete assholes. As for the moths in Hollow Knight, well, it's a bit complicated. The moth race is described as being a rather pacifist group, with few ever choosing to take up a weapon. During the Pale King's reign,
Oh, is this?
the
I
moth
forgot
race
what's
delved
their
amongst
name.
dreams and
The one that
dead,
helped us with our
displaying the
dream
importance of
nail.
remembering those who have passed, as well as learning how to shape dreams themselves. Similar to the Mosskin, the Moth tribe was born from a higher being known as the Radiance. The Radiance is described as being a light in which the Moth tribe basked.
Okay.
So she was basically a giant lamp to them.
Makes sense.
Another important aspect about the Radiance is her ties to dreams and a substance known as essence. Essence are the remains of wishes and dreams, and are represented in-game by these Dreamcatcher particle effects.
Dreamcatcher.
Essence can take the form of whispering roots, as well as dream ghosts, both of which are memories
just chilling,
taken root
bro.
in the world.
Radiance,
appears
Mad.
to be a
Wait, what?
creature
Why?
named Essence, but she isn't the only higher being to give off essence. Un has green particles, the Pale King has gray particles, and this sexy character named Grim gives off fiery red particles.
Oh, wow.
However,
Wait, I missed out on so much stuff.
When it comes to dreams, even if
What did
other
Radiance
gods
do, by the
also
way?
dabble in the dream realm. Getting back to the Moth tribe, it is their interaction with the Pale King that we need to discuss. Basically, the Moths turned their backs on the Radiance completely in order to worship the new light that had appeared, the Pale King's light.
Oh, whoa.
So yeah, Moths are assholes in this game too. With her tribe forsaking her, the Radiance became a forgotten memory, a remnant of the past, and a thing that's definitely not going to come up again later in this video. And so the Pale King's new kingdom was established.
What? So there is a
Hallownest.
stronger god, which
But
is the
there is one
Pale
aspect
King,
of
and they
Hallownest
just
that we need to
literally
discuss.
abandoned the Radiance?
Unfortunately,
What?
to better understand this, we're going to have to read some
Oh my god,
poetry.
poetry.
In wilds beyond they speak your name with reverence and regret. For none could tame our savage souls, yet you the challenge met. Under palest watch you taught, we changed. Base instincts were redeemed. A world you gave to bug and beast as they had never dreamed. This is from a poem titled Elegy for Hallownest, written by
It's just like religion. So they swap religions then, from the Radiance to the Pale King.
And hints at what the Pale King and his kingdom offered. Much of the land outside of Hallownest appears to be a wasteland,
Yes,
where bugs survive off of
But that's why they said
instinct
that they were
without the burden
assholes.
of mind.
They
Hallownest
saw
somehow
religions.
taught these bugs and tamed their savagery.
They weren't loyal,
Basically, the
bro.
Pale
They're
King
anti-art.
changed the
They're
instincts of
fucking
his
god.
subjects and granted them fire of
Or their
thought.
religion.
To get a better picture of this, let's look at two different characters, Boone and Tuck. These adorable panda bug things give us a clear display of Hallownest's effect. While both appear to be the same species of bug, Boone is dumb as a sack of rocks, struggling to string together words, while Tuck speaks fairly clearly.
I
The
never
main
met
difference between
Boone,
these
I
two
think.
characters is that while Boone lives outside of Hallownest, Tuck lives beneath the city's capital.
I meant talk
It
though.
appears as though Hallownest is a literal holy ground that raises the intelligence of those who dwell within. The Pale King established a path, starting from the kingdom's entrance in King's Pass, winding through Greenpath and the fungal wastes, and finally ending at the massive capital at Hallownest's heart. We now know the capital city as the City of Tears, but that was likely not its original name. The rain that falls down onto the city from the blue lake above didn't begin until after the kingdom collapsed. So unless the capital was originally named by some edgy literature student, the name City of Tears wouldn't have made much sense. The king's motivation for all this appears to have been his desire to be worshipped. The citizens of Hallownest believe that the Pale King created the world and everything in it. Shrines to the king can be found scattered throughout the kingdom, and king's idols were created and distributed to followers of the king.
I feel like I missed out on so much
Despite
things,
the
bro.
worship, the Pale King often kept himself hidden from his subjects.
I thought I explored
possibly
most
to
of the
hide his
map, but like,
blemishes. I mean,
oh my.
if you look at the size of the real Pale King to his statue in the ancient basin, the man is clearly overcompensating. The Pale King's white
Little
palace
guy.
was
He's
also
just a
built
little
underneath
guy.
the city, separating him from his subjects even more
oh
so.
whoa, this is the pain
At
of
the same
path.
time, certain
Pain of
powers
path, I
became
guess.
shunned
Path
at
of pain, I
Hallownest,
guess.
though we don't know for sure if the Pale King had anything to do with this.
But you need
Lifeblood is a blue
1.8k
liquidy substance
though.
that leaves those who
Oh
drink it
hell
feeling
no.
refreshed. However, the use of lifeblood was seen as a taboo, and those who used it were demonized as heretics.
Oh whoa.
The use of soul for combat was also shunned. Soul is a sort of life force in Hollow Knight that animates the bodies of living creatures. But some characters are able to control the soul of others to conjure powerful spirits. But aside from a few exceptions, no citizens of Hallownest ever used this power. However, the Pale King didn't rule alone.
What?
There was another higher being in the mix.
White
A
lady.
being known as the White Lady. The White Lady is a weird brute-like being that can be found in the modern-day Queen's Gardens. She is encased in a strange cocoon, and we know very little about her.
Oh.
With as much exposition we get for the Pale King, there is next to nothing on the White Lady. But one thing we do know is that she likes to breathe. Like, a lot. The White Lady
What is up with
often
those
retreats
puppy
into
eyes
Queen's
though? Oh my
Gardens,
god.
an area of land once controlled by the Mosskin. How exactly she walked around and actually went places is a lore question too deep for even my expertise. The White Lady is also known as a pale being, along with the Pale King.
Can I go see the white lady?
Exactly
That's what
are
I'm
pale
saying, bro.
beings? Well, we don't know for sure, but they seem to stand out even amongst higher beings as being even more powerful. I know that's a little confusing, so let's try using an example. I'd say that regular higher beings are like a TP
Oh
Link
my
Archer
god, I was gonna
C-SLAD
say, isn't that a
AC
router?
1750
TP
wireless
Link.
dual band gigabit router, while pale beings are like the Asus RT-AX88U AX6000 dual band 8X.
This guy is using
Wi-Fi.
routers.
Under the Pale King,
Oh
Hallownest
my
underwent a bit
god.
of an industrial revolution. He ordered the construction of the stagways, which were used to transport passengers. And
It's still
goods,
even less. That's
the
what I'm
forgotten
saying, bro.
crossroads, and the storerooms above the
You gotta
city
say, like,
tiers
maybe it's
were
like-
used to
it's
store
like a-
goods that traveled along
Like
these
I
stagways.
don't know,
The king also ordered
like
the
a
construction
like
of the
a really
tramways,
simple
because
meal to
literally
a
no one is
5-star
safe from the threat of
gourmet
automation.
meal or
A
something.
tram was built between the forgotten
I'm just
crossroads and the
talking
resting
about food because I'm
grounds.
hungry, man.
A second tram was built from the kingdom's edge across the ancient basin over to Deep Nest. And then a third tram was started in Deep Nest and attempted to go further into Deep Nest. Not sure how useful that would have been to the bugs of Hallownest, but whatever. The Pale King's a smart guy, I'm not gonna question him. But anyway, the Pale King's super smart plan to build a tram in Deep Nest ended up getting a few of his tram workers killed.
That's sad.
The bugs of Deep Nest rejected the Pale King's attempt to build a tram in their territory, further cementing the poor relations shared between the two groups.
Wait, what?
Aside from convenient fast travel, regular pathways were also used to cart goods around the kingdom. From this
Wait,
was born
okay, well,
probably one
I
of the
don't
most
understand
important
Deep
groups
Nest.
in
Okay, what
Hallownest,
is Deep
and
Nest
perhaps
like
even
enemies
all
with
of
Hallownest?
fiction. An elusive guild of bugs,
That's cute.
simply known as the Menderbugs.
Oh, the Menderbugs.
took to maintaining the various signs scattered throughout Hallownest. From the journal entry of one Menderbug, we can catch a glimpse into their ancient and unknowable minds.
That's cute.
Dear diary, isn't life just the most beautiful thing? Fixing signs, mending posts, let them break, I say. I'm a better mender for all that repairing. I sometimes doubt there's a single bug in all of Hallownest happier than me.
That's cute.
Another example of the Pale King's expanding infrastructure is the Crystal Peak. This area is filled with crystals that grow rapidly along walls, ceilings, and even the shells of certain bugs. These crystals were considered valuable to the bugs of Hallownest, resulting in large-scale mining efforts. We don't actually see the crystals used anywhere else in Hallownest, but they are said to contain a sort of energy. The crystals are also said to sing, if you listen very carefully.
I knew it. Bro, I was gonna call it, bro. I was gonna call it a fucking Rickroll, bro. Fuck you, bro. I was gonna. Oh my god. No, I was gonna call it. I just didn't know what. Oh my god.
As the 5 great
I knew the
knights.
Rickroll was coming as well,
The members
bro.
of this
Oh
esteemed
no.
coalition were Ogrim, Hegemol, Zamir, Drya, and Isma. For being so important,
Isma.
most of the information about these knights has been lost to time. Ogrim is the knight we know the most about,
The Dung
since
Defender.
he is one of the few knights still alive during the events of the game.
Yep.
Ogrim expressed a
I don't know,
great
but
amount of
Weavers
loyalty
kinda
towards
hate
the king,
Pale
and he
Beam.
maybe
I
had
want to explain
something
because
going
there's
on
connection with
Isma,
Silk Song.
but we really
I
don't
see.
know. Hegemol was known for his sense of humor and his soft-spoken voice, but at the same time, he was also dummy thick.
Bro,
Mysterious Samir arrived in Hallownest
dummy
from
thick.
a serene land, bringing with her a collection of delicate flowers.
ooh.
At some point, she also got into a relationship with a mantis, but not just any mantis, a daughter of one of the mantis lords.
Ooh.
So yeah, it seems like these great knights were slaying in more ways than one. All we really know about Drya is that she was fierce, caring, and wise. As for Isma, she was described as being kind. She also appears to be some sort of weird plant life form, but there's no information on where she's from or what her powers were. The 5 Great Knights play an important role in the Champion's Call, the Knotted Grove, and the Battle of the Black Worm.
Ooh.
We have no idea what these events were or how they affected Hallownest.
Like, I guess they
but
fought
sound
wars,
cool
I guess.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
During Hallownest's reign, there was another strange area that seemed to exist separate from the Pale King's
Okay,
rule.
Colosseum.
Carved out of the corpse of an ancient bug, an area called the Colosseum of Fools was constructed, and it was a destination for warriors from outside Hallownest. The sole purpose for fighting in the Colosseum appeared to be simply for glory, with a mysterious figure known as the Lord Fool overseeing the combat. We don't know when the Colosseum was constructed or if the Pale King was involved, but one of his servants, the Pale Lurker, became a champion in the Colosseum,
Oh.
perhaps indicating the Pale King's approval.
Damn.
And finally, there was the Royal Waterways, where the fecal excrement of the kingdom was washed out into the fungal wastes. This area saw the rise of a species of parasite-like creatures called the flukes. The flukes spawned from the fluke marm, a giant monster
hate
with
that.
cavities in which tinier flukes live. There really isn't too much lore involved with the flukes, but I do need to point out that the fluke marm is canonically a MILF.
What?
That's not even debatable. The sky is blue, 2 + 2 = 4, and we all want to fuck this thing.
No, I don't,
And
bro.
so this was the kingdom
What
of
the
Hallownest at its height.
What the
Hallownest
fuck?
was a vast
I don't
kingdom
wanna
connected
fuck
by a network
that.
of stagways and tram stations.
I know a
Bugs
couple of
Hallownest
Hear
were
Meows, but that one's not one of them.
resting
Oh.
using Geo, the de facto currency of the region, and a thriving capital located in the middle of the kingdom. The Pale King had succeeded in crafting a full-blown society, but we all know there are pitfalls to living in a society.
What?
As a suspiciously knowledgeable
The
hunter
Joker.
points out in his journal, the Pale King had created a population of weak and pathetic creatures. The bugs of Hallownest did not hunt for their own food, and had become complacent with their comfort. This is even more obvious with the east wing of the capital. These greedy members of Hallownest's high society became complete cowards,
True.
obsessed with riches and plum from excess wealth. The bugs living in Hallownest Prime looked quite different than the instinctive simpletons they once were. Their savagery had been replaced with intelligence, and through that intellect, they gave the Pale King the devotion
My
and
Switch is
service
charged back to
he
Silk Song.
desired.
Alright, have I Silk
And while
Song,
there were
banana?
a few snags along the way, they were shining times for the king and his subjects. Resting at the threshold of Hallownest is a strange lore tablet, proclaiming Hallownest to be the last and only civilization. It calls Hallownest an eternal kingdom. This appears to have been the Pale King's goal, for Hallownest to stand against a wasted world as a final beacon for civilization. And that was the Pale King's ultimate folly, to think that he could succeed where so many others had failed before.
Oh.
Long before the Pale Kings or the Barry Bensons of the world, the land of Hallownest was controlled by an ancient caste. Hints of Hallownest history are littered throughout the land, with the most notable examples being the soul totems and arcane eggs.
Ooh.
One sect of these ancient bugs didn't worship a god like the Pale King or any lord, but instead a dark and mysterious substance known as the Void.
Oh, okay.
This ancient caste once also tried to lay claim to the entire land of Hallownest, but they too failed. In his quest to conquer all of Hallownest, the Pale King had made an enemy long forgotten, an enemy that was about to be remembered.
Radiance?
I mentioned earlier that
Oh
the Moth
god,
tribe
it might be
entirely
Radiance.
forgot about the Radiance in order to worship the Pale King, but that isn't quite true. Memories of her still lingered, and hushed whispers of faith kept the Radiance alive.
Ooh.
At the summit of the Crystal Peak,
So
a
some people
location
do,
known as Hallownest
they still...
Crown, a strange collection of glyphs can be found. Joining these glyphs is a statue of the Radiance, presiding over the kingdom.
Fuck Radiance? Is Radiance
Sword
the
Summit is
villain here, I
soul-stealing
guess?
Shrine left to the Radiance. This was built in order to keep the memory of the Radiance alive.
So Radiance is like
The
clinging
Radiance's
onto
light
dear
began to
life
appear in the
with the
dreams of
little amount of
Hallownest
faith that some people still
citizens.
have for them.
This light manifested itself.
Hey, private
in
lover,
an
they could hide it
infection
clean.
that
Thank you, thank
ravaged
you.
through
Hope you're doing well, the
kingdom's
private.
tunnels. Those infected would
It's a
fall
boss
into a
fight?
deep
Oh yeah,
sleep
I saw
and
earlier.
awaken with broken minds. Some of the lesser bugs tried to resist the Radiance's light, which only resulted in them being consumed by it even more so. Many infected bugs lost their wills and began attacking bugs that weren't infected. The
Whoa,
infection
what the-
also twisted the bodies of its hosts,
What movie was that?
causing them to bloat and occasionally develop orange cysts on their bodies. For many victims, they were reverted back to their basic instincts, carrying out the duties they once fulfilled in life, but now as mindless slaves. Those caught up
Make
in
sure to hide it.
infection were
Thank you,
linked into
Private.
the
That's so
Radiance's
sweet.
hive mind, allowing her to control their bodies if needed.
Oof.
As the infection spread across Hallownest, many groups looked to solutions to fight off the
Radiance,
Radiance's
because
light.
Moth turning
The
their
gates of the
faith?
City of Tears were closed in an attempt to
So
keep the
is-
infection
okay,
from
isn't
reaching
this
the city. The stagways
the
were also
Moth's
shut down
fault?
at some point, and many of the
Or
stags
like, you
eventually
know,
died out.
cheating on
But some
Radiance?
took more proactive efforts against the infection.
It's so
The
cute
scholars of the
though.
Soul
Yeah, some of
Sanctum
the
decided
enemies
to
are super
harness the
cute, right,
power of
Private?
soul in an attempt to fight the infection.
When do
This
rancid...
resulted
Does,
in the
wait, no
deaths
way
of
rancid
hundreds of
eggs?
bugs, whose souls were sucked out and injected into the bodies of the scholars.
Ooh, whoa.
Their goal was to achieve some
No way
kind
that
of
the rancid
pure
eggs actually
focus,
have lore,
which would
right?
somehow protect
That would be
them
so
from
funny,
plagues of the
actually.
mind. The scholars' leader, the Soul Master, was driven mad by the sheer power of soul, and his entire sect failed to avoid infection.
Oh,
But hey, at least they took as many innocent people down with them as they could.
yikes.
The Mantis tribe, showing a stronger will than the common bug, were able to stave off the infection.
Nice.
However, one of the 4 Mantis lords turned against his sisters. He and his followers
Oh,
took in the infection willingly.
I did not fight
as it
that
gave them
guy.
more strength and courage. At some point during all this, the traitor lord and his followers were exiled from the Mantis village, eventually taking up residence in the Queen's Gardens.
Ah, the Queen's
The
Gardens.
traitor lord's daughter ended up dying at some point. This is the same Mantis that was in a relationship with Zamir, one of the 5 great knights. But the Mantises rejected their union because of Zamir's outsideness. As a gamer, this type of prejudice is all too familiar, and honestly, it makes me sick. With the 5
Is that
great
Doki
knights
Doki
completely
Literature
useless to
Club?
fight against the infection, the Pale King devised his own scheme. A scheme involving a strange substance known as Void. As I mentioned earlier, the Pale King's White Palace was built in an area called the Ancient Basin, but his castle wasn't the only noteworthy thing down there. At the bottom of the Ancient Basin was the entrance to a pit known as the Abyss.
Stop gamer
Within the
discrimination.
abyss
That's all I'm
was a
saying,
lake
bro.
composed of void. The Pale King realized that this void could be given form, as evidenced by an imprint of such deep within the abyss, possibly left there by the ancient civilization that predated Hallownest. The Pale King devised a workshop in his palace, where he placed void in armor shells imbued with soul,
Damn.
creating servants known as King's Molds and Wing Molds.
Ooh.
These void creatures were somehow imprinted with the desire of the Pale King, so that they would serve him. It isn't clear when the Pale King started making these creatures. There is evidence to imply that even common bugs were aware of King's Molds, but the point is, the Pale King turned to the void in order to create another creature, one that
Aw.
he believed could contain the Radiance and her infection.
Wait, what?
He tried to create a pure vessel. The Radiance's infection needs its host to have a will and a mind in order to enslave it. A pure vessel would be a creature made of void, designed to lack those features.
Oh.
The Pale King believed that by harnessing the void inside a pure vessel, he would be able to stop the infection and keep Hallownest lasting eternal. But his method for creating this so-called pure vessel was incredibly cruel.
He killed off a lot of lives.
The White Lady and her King Kong-sized libido come into play. These two higher beings engaged in
King Kong-sized libido,
resulting in the creation of several eggs that were dropped down into the abyss. There, the void seeped into these eggs, corrupting the offspring of the Pale King and the White Lady. This act resulted in the
eggs.
creation
Yeah, I
of
guess
the
so.
vessels. The vessels are not technically considered to be alive. They are shells created from the Pale King and White Lady that have been filled with the void. Within each vessel is a shade, a completely void being hidden behind the face of the vessel. Vessels are also non-gendered, I guess because they're dead or something.
So I've been playing a vessel this whole
That's how that
time?
works, but whatever. I'm not an expert on these kinds of things. I don't work at ICE anymore. Thousands of vessels
They didn't say that
were
earlier.
during this process, but only one was chosen as the pure vessel. This particular vessel, chosen by the Pale King, was deemed the Hollow Knight, and was taken
I guess they
away
had
to the White
agreed
Palace.
makeup sex, I guess
But I
so.
want to take a bit of a closer look at this part of the story.
Angry
There are a number of
makeup
questions and
sex.
theories surrounding this moment that I really want to dig into. The big question surrounding this moment is, why was the Hollow Knight chosen over any other vessel? One common theory is
So
the
that
Pale King
was
took these
our
vessels
brother,
back to
one
the
of
White
our like
Palace
10,000
and
brothers or
evaluated
something,
them
right?
using
Out of all
his
the
giant collection
vessels.
of buzzsaws. This theory is probably the least likely explanation. It kinda exists just to explain the buzzsaws, which is quite the mystery, I'll admit, but doesn't really mesh with the vessels very well. How does being good at Super Meat Boy prove that you are a worthy vessel? And while thinking
Super
about
Meat
logistics
Boy,
in a
oh
game
my
about magic
god,
bugs
isn't that a
is
really
never
old
a good
game?
idea, how exactly did the Pale King transfer these thousands of vessels to his palace without characters like the Dung Defender finding out?
True.
So this means that the Pale King probably made his decision without taking any of the vessels out of the abyss. So how did the Pale King make his evaluation? I think the best explanation comes from a theory I originally heard from a user named Golden Flower Fan. Basically, the vessels were
It's like a
cast down
solo
from
project, I guess, or like
the
duo,
first
I
one
guess,
to
because
make it
it's
to
like the
top
Pale
was
King and the
chosen
White
by the
Lady.
Pale King. In a memory of this event, we see vessels falling from above back down into the pit of the abyss.
Oh.
Perhaps these vessels weren't being cast down into the abyss, but fell while trying to escape out of it.
That's a pretty good
The
theory.
lore tablet outside the abyss appears to support this theory. It reads, "Our pure vessel has ascended. Beyond lies only the refuse and regret of its creation.
Refuse.
We shall
They're
enter that
refuse.
place no longer." This tablet was likely written right after the Hollow Knight was chosen, considering that is when the entrance to the abyss was sealed off.
Oh.
The tablet proclaims that the pure vessel has ascended.
Yeah, look. Okay,
or
so
in
this
other
is the
words,
two pure
climbed
vessels.
out of the abyss. And while cut
Okay.
content should never be considered canon, I would just like to point out that an earlier version of this tablet, found in the game's code, was even more explicit about this. It read, "From below, our pure vessel has ascended."
Okay.
But how does making it to the top of the abyss first prove that the Hollow Knight is somehow a perfectly hollow vessel? Well, I think this whole concept might just be a misconception. What if the Hollow Knight wasn't any different from the other vessels? All the vessels were made in the exact same way after all.
Ooh.
The idea that the Hollow Knight was somehow more
Yeah,
hollow
bro.
than
It's
the
just
other
the Pale
vessels
King and the
comes
White
from the
Lady
fact that there were so many
fucking,
vessels
bro.
created in the first place. If they only needed one, then why create so goddamn many? I mean,
That's
this
what
is
I'm
like
saying.
Optimum on steroids. Well, these are bugs we're talking about, so it would make sense that multiple offspring would come from one egg. And it might have been a precaution to produce multiple vessels in hopes that at least one would be able to successfully escape the abyss.
Oh, hi, Del100.
Now, another explanation
On
could
YouTube
be
chat,
that
how you
the Pale
doing?
King just yeeted
pass the
other
abyss, it can be a
vessels
pure
that made it
vessel.
to the
Yes.
top first, after determining that they
What I'm
weren't
seeing
hollow,
here.
which would better explain why so many were created. Ultimately, the exact details aren't super important, but I do find it interesting how many different interpretations can be pulled from this part of the lore. After the Hollow Knight was chosen, the Pale King sealed the doorway to the abyss, leaving the discarded vessels to rot away in darkness.
Oh, that's so sad.
These actions were not taken lightly by the Pale King or the White Lady. Both participants expressed shame in what they did, but saw no other option to save the kingdom. But the vessels weren't the only poor saps sealed away in the abyss. There's also a lighthouse that was built on top of a naturally formed spire, its light shining down on an ocean of abyss below. Inside was one of the Pale King's royal retainers, who was left in charge of keeping the lighthouse turned on. So this brave soul was willingly sealed in a dark and dangerous tomb for the rest of his life, just so he could not pull a lever. Well, at least he was living with purpose.
Oh my god.
With the abyss sealed and the Hollow Knight chosen, the Pale King's plan was beginning to come together. The Hollow Knight was raised and trained to prime form, causing it to grow several times its original size.
Damn.
We don't know exactly why this happened, but I guess the Hollow Knight is just a grower and not a shower. We know that the Hollow Knight was trained to use a nail, but why was this even necessary? One possible explanation is that the Hollow Knight needed to protect itself in case an intruder tried to kill it. You know, like the player. Or perhaps this was important in the process of containing the Radiance. Unfortunately, the details of that are never fully explained. The Hollow Knight might have somehow focused the Radiance.
I guess they kind of fucked up of like choosing a pure vessel
gives us
then,
no
yeah.
explanation of how that might have worked. But that still wasn't enough for the Pale King. Additional seals were needed in order to protect the Hollow Knight's physical body while the Radiance was trapped inside of it. To achieve this, the Pale King sought the help of 3 particular bugs, who would later be known as the Dreamers: Lurien the Watcher, Motomon the Teacher, and Hera the Beast.
So we had to kill all of them to access the Hollow Knight then, yeah?
From there, Lurien watched over the city with his telescope. Lurien was a pretty big fan of the king, so it probably took little convincing for him to lie down for him. Lurien might also be tied to another strange incident that occurred in the City of Tears. Hidden on some of Lurien's lore tablets are images of jars, the same jars that can be found stockpiled in the Tower of Love. This building sits on the outskirts of the city, and is the setting of one of the most bizarre bosses in the game, the Collector.
Wait, which one?
The Collector is a void construct that appears to have been made from the same mold used to create the King's molds. But the Collector is unique because, well, Good grief, he's naked! The Collector stayed in the Tower of Love with a noble bug who likely owned the establishment. In the tower, a number of bugs can be found captured in jars, implying that these two were tasked with collecting these creatures. However, the Collector somehow became obsessed with grubs, creating a map to keep track of grubs it captured in jars, as well as keeping a strange shrine displaying a grub in the style of the Vitruvian Man.
What?
Eventually, the bug staying with the Collector decided to lock it inside the Tower of Love, and fled to the Queen's Gardens, where it died, likely due to overexposure to the void.
So the void's kind of like a
Locked up
poison,
in
I
the
guess.
tower, the Collector is still spotted by the Hunter at some point, which either means this only happened recently, or the Hunter has been farting around in Hallownest for a long
Damn,
ass
the
time.
Vitruvian Man?
We
What's a
have no idea what these
Vitruvian
creatures were
Man?
trying to do. It's implied that the Collector was trying to preserve the creatures of Hallownest, perhaps trying to protect them from the spread of the infection.
Really?
But we don't know where the Collector's obsession with grubs originated, and while Lurien does seem connected to all of this, we don't know how involved he was with this operation, or what its end goal exactly was. Motomon the Teacher lived in the Teacher's Archives, a library built atop a lake of acid in the Fog Canyon.
Monomon.
The lower half of her body consists
This is the
of
motherfucker who
tentacles,
made the
making her a
jellyfishes
popular
then.
subject
Oh
for
fuck the
threatening
jellyfishes,
Hollow
bro.
Knight 34
Whoa, whoa,
community.
whoa, 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 what?
The archives
Relax.
in the Fog Canyon as
We're
a
on stream,
whole
buddy.
are also filled with
R34?
strange Metroid knockoffs. These creatures are likely related to Motomon in some way. They could be her live offspring, her test tube babies, or possibly even her shit.
What?
Motomon
Shit.
uses futuristic cathode ray tube things
What?
to
That's what I'm
store
saying,
information
bro.
about
R34?
Hallownest. Several terminals
Relax.
in the Teacher's archive go into detail about the Pale King's plan to defeat the Radiance, indicating that Motomon had intimate knowledge of what she was taking part in. Finally, the Pale King sought the help of Hera the Beast, the Queen of Deep Nest.
The new Mayfigure
Now,
in
as
two
I mentioned
superimposed
earlier,
positions.
relations
Oh my
between
goodness.
Hallownest and Deep Nest were kinda not great.
Yep.
Unlike the other two dreamers, Hera needed to be convinced in
Okay,
order
so-
to help the Pale King.
Okay.
Hera would eventually agree to become a dreamer, in exchange for a child. The Pale King agreed, and the two engaged in a dalliance. which is a fancy way of saying they totally boned.
What the? They
The white lady
fucked?
was okay with this arrangement.
Whoa!
In fact, she might have been watching from the closet. The motive
Pale
behind
King and
Hera's
Hera
arrest is never
fucked?
elaborated on, but it appears as though the King of Deep Nest was dead at this
And
point.
Hornet was
Hera
the...
was a common bug, so perhaps she
Oh,
decided
they
to kill
freaky?
King
Oh, they
Hera's
freaky,
seed
alright.
so that her child could be of high birth. The bargain between Hera and the Pale King resulted in the birth of Hornet.
Okay.
She became known as the gendered child, because unlike the Pale King's other children, Hornet was not hollowed out by the abyss.
That was Carl.
Hera and Hornet spent little time together, as Hera had to make good on her end of the bargain. And so the three dreamers were put to rest. Through their actions, a seal was placed over the black egg, prohibiting entrance into the chamber. These dreamers also had their own protection. At the base of Lurian's spire, the Watcher Knights
are
guarded
so
access to their
annoying.
master's body. Motomon's body was protected by a giant jellyfish named Umu.
Umu.
On top of this,
Hi, Yingyue.
Motomon
I can't stay for a
entrusted
long
her
time
servant
to get ready to
Whirl
go
with
out.
a
Oh, have
mask
fun
which
going
would
out
be
though.
required
Appreciate you
to
dropping
break
by
an
though,
additional
Yingyue.
seal she had
Appreciate
placed
it.
over herself. So she
Hope you have
basically is double
fun.
wrapping herself. As for Hera, we're not really sure what protected her, since it is never actually seen in-game. We don't know where this creature is hiding, but whoever it is, they really suck at their job. Now there appears to be
There's a
one
chair.
more element to the Pale King's plan,
Oh my
involving the Weavers.
god.
Hidden away in the Weaver's
What
den
the-
was an incomplete
The
seal
Pale
binding
King and Hera
woven from silk.
fucked. I
This
didn't even
design
know that,
prominently
bro.
features the Hollow Knight's head and can be
That's
found
pretty
in the
funny, though.
White
I like
Palace, as well as
I like how the
blocking
plot's
exit
going-
in the
coming
Hollow
out.
Knight fight. Silk
That is such a
spools created by the
surprise.
Weavers can be found in the Stag Station in Deep Nest, as well as the Stag Station
So did
next to the White
we
Palace.
literally just killed
These spools
Hornet's
can also be
mother.
found in the Pale King's workshop.
Oh god.
We know that the Weavers were closely tied to Hera and Hornet, so their actions might have been a part of the deal between the Pale King and Hera. Once the Hollow Knight was ready, the Radiance was somehow channeled into the vessel, which was then placed inside of a giant black egg located in the Forgotten Crossroads.
Yeah,
This egg was built to sustain the Hollow Knight, and itself appears to be fashioned from void. The Hollow Knight was chained up, and the entrance to the black egg was locked behind
Okay, how
a
did-
powerful seal.
how did they get
created by the
Radiance
three
into
dreamers.
the Hollow Knight though?
Initially, this convoluted plan actually worked, and the infection was successfully
Why is it so
contained.
fast?
Memorials to the Hollow Knight and the Dreamers were erected in the City of Tears and the Resting Grounds. But this is the part of the story where things get a little bit hazy.
Okay.
By the time
Oh,
these statues were
climax.
constructed, citizens had taken to writing on parchment woven from spider silk, which was all destroyed when water started pouring down onto the city. We don't know how long the Hollow Knight was able to completely contain the infection. Bugs from Dirtmouth used to go to the Temple of the Black Egg to pray, saying they felt at peace within the walls. But after a while, they stopped going, perhaps indicating that the infection was beginning to leak out again.
Uh-oh.
The infectious air continued to seep through Halnest for years, eventually even reaching the deepest parts of the kingdom. As it turns out, the Pale
Lost
King's
kin.
pure vessel wasn't quite so pure after all.
Uh-oh.
The Hollow Knight had been tarnished by an idea instilled. While the game never explicitly tells us what that idea was, it does hint strongly at what it might be. Hidden away in the White Palace is a memory showing the Hollow Knight and the Pale King sharing a moment. The Hollow Knight
No.
might have developed a parental bond to the Pale King. And
Oh.
who could blame it? The Pale King is a pretty great dad after all. You know, if you ignore the infanticide and everything. Remember
I mean, they
those
fucked a
smug
lot.
mushroom dickheads? Well, it turns out their trust in the Pale King was a complete mistake. That shared mind isn't looking too good now, is it? In the fungal core, the corpse of a giant mushroom lies dormant. Its final thoughts were, "Pale worm, what good to see a demise unavoidable?" This could imply that the Pale King always knew that his kingdom was doomed. All he could do was delay the inevitable. This is likely the moment when Halnest, as it once was, entirely collapsed. The Hollow Knight had not completely stopped the infection, and while it may have
That's
taken a
sad.
while, Halnest was eventually brought low. It's at this point that characters and areas begin to resemble as we know them in
So it's not a pure vessel
When it
anymore,
became
because
clear
the
that
Hollow
was
Knight
not able to
cared
contain
about the Pale
Radiance,
King.
The Pale King
Okay.
resorted to his final plan.
What's the final
He
plan?
fucked off.
What?
Hiding himself, his
He
White
fucked
Palace,
off.
and his Pale Court in the dream world. At this point, all of the furniture in the palace was covered under white sheets, similar to how people in the real world cover their furniture while away on long trips.
He fucked
The
off.
palace was also completely covered with thorns and buzzsaws, similar to how people in the real world cover their houses with thorns and buzzsaws.
I don't think that's how. Well, I don't know.
Sitting on his throne in the White Palace. There's no confirmation on what killed him, but there are a few things to consider. The throne room is incredibly dark compared to the rest of the palace, and the particle effects and ambient track in this room are identical to that of the Abyss.
He died to Abyss?
All of the king's molds surrounding the Pale King are dead. The ancient basin itself also has become stained with the presence of void, as it can be seen as high as the rundown elevator shaft leading back to the city. Remember that bug that was sealed away in the Abyss to make sure the lighthouse wasn't turned off?
I think
well,
the Abyss is kind of like
lighthouse was
used.
turned off.
Oh shit.
I guess that whole living with purpose thing is a crock of shit after all. It seems as though the Sea of Void itself actually convinced this bug to betray his king and turn off the lighthouse.
Oh wow.
Now I know what you're thinking. Exactly how conscious is the Void?
The Void is kind of like
Void
used
able
as
to
a
think for
weapon then,
itself?
right?
Can it form strategies? Does it host a
You
podcast?
can't control. Oh.
Well, according to this,
It's like a
children's
dangerous
statue
weapon,
ripoff,
Immaculacy,
The
right?
Void is powerful.
He died
but
from the
not
white lady's
lethal.
high
So
libido.
while it can't
Yeah, bro, you
thrash
got
around
sucked
things
dry,
like
bro.
you call out in unison to turn off the light.
You got
It's
sucked
not
dry.
a single conscious being. Getting back to the Pale King, one could argue that the Void might have played a role in his ultimate demise, and I've argued that viewpoint in the past. But we have to remember that there isn't enough evidence to know for sure. As an expert
Love your
lawyer
smile.
and a
Thank
good
you,
friend
Nick.
of
That's so
mine, Johnny
sweet.
Cochran once said, any evidence that the Void was
That's
involved in
sweet.
the Pale King's death is circumstantial. My name is Johnny Cochran.
What?
Just above the White Palace, the bugs in the City of Tears weren't faring much better. Even if we ignore the fact that the infection was still around, there were other issues that helped lead to the city's downfall.
The corruption.
Due to the gates being sealed, some bugs resorted to cannibalism in order to
Oh,
avoid
that's so
starvation.
sad.
And there's also that metric fuckton of corpses lining the walls of the Soul Sanctum. When all was said and done, the only citizen left standing is Eternal Emelita, who just laughs her ass off about it like she's a fucking Dark Souls character.
Wait,
The
what?
White Lady ends up in a cocoon.
It's like
kept
King
it
of the
in
Hill or
Queen's
what? Like she
gardens.
killed everyone?
She decided to place bindings on herself in order to keep her from spreading her seed.
Oh.
She claims that this is because of the shame she feels in helping the Pale King create the vessels. But honestly, it's probably just her kink. The White Lady also diminished her power.
God damn it,
also
man. This
used her
guy
to
is
keep
so
herself
funny,
hidden
bro. I
from
love him.
unwanted visitors. Outside her cocoon, Drya stood guard.
Imagine there was a
protecting
boss
her
that
queen from
insta killed you. That would be
violent
hell.
trio
Holy.
Drya is eventually killed off by
I think
these
some people
bugs,
probably made a
which is
mod for that
actually
banana
pretty
man.
pathetic if
I'm
you
not
think
gonna
about it.
lie.
I mean, we're talking like the Netgear WPN824N N150 wireless router pathetic. Speaking
This
of
guy's using
great
routers for
knights
everything.
dying
What?
pathetically, let's
For all
move
the
on to
comparisons?
Hegemel held the city crest, a key used to open one of the gates to the City of Tears.
Not
At
this
some point,
again.
Hegemel's armor
It,
shell
it
was
makes us
stolen by a
understand
maggot.
less, right?
Now, maggots were generally looked down upon and forced to do menial labor. They were incredibly weak, and basically deserved all of the discrimination they got.
What?
But this one maggot decided to turn the tide, so he stole Hegemel's shell so that he could defend his downtrodden brothers.
That's
His
sweet.
actions weren't motivated by the infection, but instead was the result of how hierarchical caste systems will always lead
What?
to revolution from the working class, and that true freedom can only be achieved blah blah blah, capitalism is bad, subscribe to my Patreon. Ogre moved to the Royal Waterways and started living in shit, changing his name
Okay.
to Dung Defender. Now I love wallowing in shit as much as the next guy, but you'd have to really love shit
Wow.
to put up with living with the flukes. The Dung Defender kept an unwavering sense of duty and loyalty to the king, and love for his fellow knights. So much so that he made shit statues of them. How nice. Ogrim acted as the defender of the pipeways, as well as Isma's Grove. A section of the Royal Waterways became filled with acid, and in the middle of it all rests Isma's corpse, which has been overcome by plant life. Isma is likely the one responsible for this acid blight, but we have no idea what happened to her. Hornet's whereabouts during this time are fairly mysterious. We know that she departed Deep Nest and
Okay.
didn't return until the events of the game.
Oh, hi,
At some
Komani. Are
point,
you true
she
ending?
took
No, I
the
just got the
knowledge
basic
from
ending, but I'm
True
just.
warriors, as well as the cast-off shell in the Kingdom's Edge. Despite the
Why does your
Kingdom's
game have
laws at
subtitles? No, I'm
large,
watching a lore
fortunately,
video,
this fate did
Komani.
not befall one of the fandom's favorite characters.
Yeah.
The Menderbugs continue to fix the broken signs and wayposts of Hallows.
Menderbugs! Oh my
We can see
god!
that one Menderbug in particular
Menderbugs are
found
so
himself
cute,
on
bro.
the precipice of a long and loving
What are we doing with the
relationship.
Komani? Let me give you a shout out.
Hello again, diary. Not long now until the next Minder Bash. For a
House
stealthy
POE.
types,
Oh,
we're
whoa,
a
whoa, whoa,
riotous
what?
bunch when we get together. And
Whoa.
Minderberry kept flashing me that smile. It might be time to
Did
muster
the Mender
my
bugs
courage
fuck
and
as well?
act on it. I love my home and my life, but sharing it with
You know
another?
how
Why,
you had to
that'd
collect
be the
those 3
cherry
skulls to
on
open a
top.
black egg? Well, I'm doing something like that in
Greenpath also
Silksong.
underwent some
Ooh, all the
changes
best with
during
that
this
banana,
time.
man.
The Mosskin were waiting for Un's call.
Can't wait to play
which would bring
Silksong.
them
Oh, I'm
back
gonna
into
play
the dream
Silksong
they
soon
were
as well,
originally
come on, because I
born
finished
from.
the
But for some
first
reason,
game.
Un's strength deteriorated. We don't know why this happened exactly. Was it due to the White Lady claiming part of her kingdom? Was it somehow due to the infection? Some Mosskin believe that Un went into hiding, but it appears as though Un is, in fact, calling to her children. But many of the Mosskin are unable to hear her call.
Uh-oh.
Instead, many Mosskin seem to have taken the Radiance's infection into their leaves,
Oh,
which might explain
no.
why Greenpath became overgrown with vegetation despite Un's deteriorating powers. Mossy vagabonds even openly chose to forsake Un and worship the Radiance. Another
Oh.
tribe to be screwed over by the Radiance is the Hive, which fell to the infection after the death of their leader, Hive Queen Vespa. But it
Vespa?
appears as though this had little effect on their
bike?
civilization. The Radiance's hive mind was already
After
familiar
Halloween,
to
so
the
many games,
bees,
so little time.
since
Yeah,
the
I saw a
hive
lot of
probably
banger
operated
games
under something
nowadays.
similar already. So in other
We're kind of
words,
at
the
a phase
hive
where
probably
like
made out the
competitive
best
games
in
are
this
like
whole
kind of like
situation.
slowing down.
Let's turn our
and
attention
people are,
back
like,
to
playing
the
single-player
moths.
games, I feel
After
like.
all, it's their god
Or at
who
least
keeps
that's
killing
how I feel.
everybody. Well, the moth tribe didn't fare too well actually, as pretty much the entire tribe died out. The only known survivor is the seer. Despite the loss of her tribe,
The seer.
continued to tend to the graves in the resting
Oh,
grounds,
wait, that's
while
sweet.
also waiting the arrival of the wielder, a mysterious being that her tribe has dreamt of for a while. In the Kingdom's
The
Edge,
seer.
the land became covered in ash, molting off of the worm's decomposing corpse. The Colosseum of Fools continued to thrive.
That's
The Lord
good.
Fool passed away at some point, but nobody really seems to notice or even
Holy
care.
shit.
The fools inside the Colosseum were infected, but still seem to have maintained control over themselves.
That's crazy.
It seems possible that these bugs took in the infection willingly, similar to the Traitor Lord and his followers. This would
Wow.
have given them an edge in combat, similar to using steroids, but without the whole shrinking testicles thing. However, even the Traitor Lord and his
I
followers
expected it to
went
be
mad,
dry as
so
fuck.
what
That's why I
makes these
started an
fools any more
MMO.
special?
Everyone,
As for the Pale King's
everything drops out of
champion,
nowhere.
the
Yeah,
Pale
we're all
Lurker,
bangers.
well, she just went the
I mean, you can
normal
play
route
everything at the
insane.
same time, you know, Koani.
There
It's
appears
also
to
an
have been
option.
another unforeseen event with the Pale King's plan. When the Hollow Knight was originally chosen, the door to the Abyss was sealed, trapping the discarded vessels within. But apparently, some vessels didn't get the memo. Vessel corpses can be found littered throughout the kingdom. There's one in the Ancient Basin, one in Greenpath, and several trapped in Nosk's lair and Deep Nest. Another vessel that escaped from the Abyss is the player character, the Knight.
Oh,
The exact details on how the vessels escaped the Abyss is unclear. There are indications that they might have slipped into Deep Nest through some old passageway,
Okay.
could avoid influences in part of the area, and all the corpses found in Nosk's lair. At some point, all entrances to Hollow Nest were closed off, with the old well and Earthmouth being the only way to sneak back in.
Ooh.
Despite this, several people have wormed their way into the kingdom, with few ever returning. Characters like Relic Seeker Lem seem content to just pillage artifacts from the ruined kingdom, but other bugs seem
Wait, so
interested
all
in
of
something
the
greater.
living
In the Howling
vessels,
Cliffs rests the corpse of a member of the Grim Troop. The task of this
like their
appears
only
to be
living goal is
seek
to
out
become a pure
Hallownest,
vessel,
so that
right?
the troop
I
might be
think.
summoned to the kingdom in the future. The
That's why
Grim
they're, like,
Troop are
running
basically
around.
A group of bugs that serve a higher being known as the Nightmare Heart.
Oh
The
god.
troop keeps the heart alive by feeding on the nightmares of fallen kingdoms. This process also involves sacrificing the troop master to his own child because, hey, look at this cool ass boss battle.
Oh my god.
Another important group that traveled to Hallownest are the
Grim the
God
goat? Is
Seekers.
Grim like a...
After being abandoned by
a
their
good
old
villain?
gods, the gods
Like a
of Thunder
badass
and
villain?
the gods of rain, these bugs left their home in the land of storms, seeking out a new god to worship. The God Seekers looked to gods to save them from their own silent mind. While traveling through the wastelands, the God Seekers constructed devices called God Tuners, which helped them seek out new gods. Through this
NKG
device,
made
they
me
were
rage
able
quit
to
this
detect the
game.
lingering
What's
power of the
NKG?
Pale King and find their way to Hallownest. When they arrived, however, the God Seeker
This one
was
is full
forced into
believer.
hibernation.
Ooh.
She was encased in a strange sarcophagus-like cocoon, which was itself chained up with a lock.
Nightmare King Grim.
It's not clear how this
Ooh.
forced hibernation worked, seeing as the cocoon appears to have been made by the God Seeker herself. As for who put the cocoon in chains, I think the most likely candidate is the Dung Defender.
The Dung
considering how the
Defender.
Godseeker's cocoon is found in the junk pit in the waterways, an area the Dung Defender has tasked himself with protecting. This was the general picture of Hallownest after the Hollow Knight was sealed inside the Temple of the Black Egg. The kingdom was stuck in a kind of stasis, with the Pale King civilization destroyed and the Radiants unable to break free from her chains. The Pale King was rebelling against nature, trying to keep his work standing indefinitely. The stasis over Hallownest held for an age. How long is that exactly? Well, we have no idea. As I'm sure you've noticed, there really isn't a timeline for anything.
Yeah, there's no timeline at all. Oh my god.
We also have no idea how long any of these bugs can actually live.
True.
Elderbug wasn't around to see the stagways open, but we know several other characters were, implying that Elderbug is probably one of the youngest characters in the whole game. But this stasis over Hallownest wasn't going to last forever. At some point, the Radiance erupted out of the Hollow Knight, cracking its shell, and releasing a loud and powerful roar. The amount of infection leaking out of the Hollow Knight became even greater. The many corpses that lined the roads and cities of the kingdom sprang to life with the amplified power of the infection. This strengthened infection prompted the departure of the Weavers back to their old home. Now this old home might actually be Farloom, the kingdom in which Hollow Knight Silksong takes place. But the amount of knowledge we have about Silksong right now is pathetic, so I'm not saying that's confirmed or anything. This is also around the time that Quirrell arrives back in Hallownest. His memory of Motomon appears to have been clouded due to his time outside of Hallownest. These events are depicted in the Quirrell prequel comic, which also shows an image of the Hollow Knight with a pre-cracked shell. This could mean that Quirrell's arrival happens roughly the same time the Hollow Knight's shell cracks. At around the same time Quirrell arrives in Hallownest, we also see the arrival of the player character, who is commonly referred to as the Knight. The Knight was one of the lucky vessels that was able to make its way out of the abyss. Somehow the Knight ended up venturing beyond Hallownest and into the wilds beyond. It's implied that the Knight was called to Hallownest by either the sealed Hollow Knight or the Radiants within. Regardless, once the Knight shows up and yeets itself off this cliff, the actual game of Hollow Knight finally begins.
Oh my god.
Now, there's a lot of
how
details
long
we
are we
can
into
get
the video?
Hallownest
Almost an
is
hour.
full of season bosses, each with their own stories to tell.
And we're
But to be
here.
honest, I don't think we need to go through all of them, since their stories are relatively straightforward. For example, let's look at the Brooding Moloch. So why is the Brooding Moloch brooding?
What's a brood? What
Because
is
all his friends
brooding?
are dead. And there you go. That's the lore for the Brooding Moloch. Also, it's the only character in the game with a visible asshole.
What?
Now, did you really need me to explain that to you? Probably not.
No.
So instead, I'm just going to talk about the interactions relating to Hollow Knight's main story. The Knight is eventually noticed by Hornet, who lures it deep into Greenpath. There, Hornet attempts to kill the Knight, claiming that she knows what it would try to do. At this point, Hornet views the Knight as being too weak.
The Lost King is like a really... It's like another vessel that like fell to the infection, I guess.
Hornet mentions that the Knight has gained a resilience due to the time it spent in the void beyond Hallownest. This could be referring to the fact that some of those who leave Hallownest lose their memories, meaning the Knight
What else is
will have no
happening?
memories
We're
of
watching
its
a
own
lore
tragic
video developer. What's up,
conception.
Lou?
Hornet tells the Knight that if it seeks to continue the stasis that keeps Hallownest standing, it must seek the Graven Ash, which is referring to the Kingdom's Edge. At this moment, Hornet sees the Knight as a possible replacement for the Hollow Knight. Basically, the Knight could break the seals that keep the Hollow Knight locked away,
I still think the vessels look so cute though.
and contain the infection itself.
It's like tiny.
It's at this point that I should mention that Hollow Knight actually has 5 different endings, because of course it would. I'm going to be explaining each of these endings.
Nice, okay, that's what we need to know.
As they each give us a different glimpse into the mechanics of Hollow Knight's world. Now, to get the easiest ending to Hollow Knight, Hornet's instructions to go to the Kingdom's Edge can be ignored completely. If the Knight stumbles upon the resting grounds, the 3 dreamers will appear and cast the Knight into the Dream Realm. There, Seer will come to the Knight's rescue and grant it the Dream Nail, a special blade that can tear the veil between the real world and the dream world. With the Dream Nail, the Knight can venture to the resting places of the 3 dreamers, curb stomp their asses, and unlock the entrance to the Black
I think
Egg.
this is what we got.
Inside the egg, the Knight finds the Hollow Knight chained up, silently watching over it. Once the chains are broken, the Hollow Knight screams with that familiar Radiance roar and pursues the Knight. As the fight progresses, the Hollow Knight starts trying to kill itself, Quirrell style. But then the Radiant starts using the Hollow Knight's body to perform her own attacks.
Ooh.
Once defeated, the Hollow Knight begins to spew infection all over the place. The Knight can then focus the infection into itself.
So we're like
This
taking in
results
all the
in first ending
infection.
of the game, called Hollow Knight. In this ending, the Knight usurps the Hollow Knight, prolonging the stasis over Hallownest. New chains and bindings appear out of fuck if I know, and contain the Knight, and a new seal is placed over the entrance to the Black Egg. Now there is one giant question looming over this ending. Can the Knight actually contain the infection?
Can he
indefinitely,
actually do it?
Or will the Radiant still manage to break free one day? Before we answer this question, let's look at some of the other events that
What
can
if he
transpire
gains
while
feelings for
playing the game.
Hornet?
If the player chooses to go to Kingdom's Edge, Hornet will challenge the Knight one last time as a final test of strength. After her defeat, Hornet allows the Knight to access the cast-off shell, where the Pale
That's what I
King
said.
was
Oh really?
originally
Oh shit!
hatched.
I didn't pay attention
By
then.
interacting with this
You would have
egg,
hidden as well,
the
though,
Knight's
Sarah. I
shell
appreciate
is
it.
marked with the King's brand, technically making the Knight the new ruler of Hallownest. With the King's brand, the Knight can now open the entrance to the Abyss and discover the place of its birth. When leaving the Abyss, the Knight can encounter Hornet again, where for the first time, Hornet suggests that there are actually two outcomes the Knight can enact. She tells the Knight that it can either prolong Hallownest stasis, or face the heart of the Kingdom's infection. Within the Knight, Hornet sees a chance for change. Instead of just replacing the Hollow Knight, Hornet believes that it may be possible to get rid of the infection completely by using the void inside of the Knight.
Oh.
After visiting the Abyss and obtaining the Shade Cloak, the Knight is capable of reaching the White Lady, hidden away in the Queen's Gardens. The White Lady tells the Knight that she has been awaiting a vessel to accept a gift, that gift being one half of a charm called the King Soul, which she claims will give the Knight more power.
Damn.
The White Lady goes on to explain that she can feel
So
the
Holnet
weakening
was
of the
good. We're
Hollow
like
Knight
watching like a
within
lore
her.
video right now, Sarah.
She tells the Knight that it is free of the blemishes that made the Hollow Knight
Quite
a
good,
flawed
though.
vessel. From
I'll
this
give it like a
dialogue,
9 out of 10.
It is implied that the Knight truly is a pure vessel, capable of containing the Radiant successfully. But it's not quite that simple, so we're gonna have to dig a bit deeper into this. Basically, we're gonna need to answer a simple question. What exactly does it mean to be a Hollow Knight? Despite the White Lady's words, we have a number of instances where the characters and item descriptions mention that the Knight has a will, and maybe even a mind. But from the Pale King's dialogue when describing the Hollow Knight, it is stated that a pure vessel has no mind or will. So is the White Lady wrong? Or maybe even lying?
Ooh.
Her eyes have been clouded by time, and she can be tricked into thinking that Ogrim is in the room when the Knight is wearing the Defender's Crest charm. She also thinks that Dryia is still alive, which, so maybe the White Lady is just senile. My problem with that theory is that the White Lady
sleeping
states that
there.
the vessels stand out to her clearly in a misted world, due to them being her spawn. She also questions whether or not the Knight sought her aid, which would imply that the Knight must have some kind of will. So for whatever reason, the White Lady thinks the Knight is still capable of containing the Radiance, even if it's still able to make decisions. After all, the Hollow Knight was considered pure, but they still taught it how to wield a fucking sword. I mean, if the Knight were truly and completely hollow in a literal sense, it probably shouldn't even be able to walk, or draw a map, or open a goddamn bank account.
No, fuck the banker, man.
The concept of being hollow is so abstract and hard to define. I don't really feel comfortable giving a solid answer on whether or not the Knight is or isn't truly hollow.
Pure
And I
vessel
think the game
jump
leaves room
scare.
open for other
Well, what's the jump
interpretations.
scare, Herald?
Of course, the White Lady's gift is useless without the other half of the King's Soul. In order to reach it, however, the Knight must travel to the White Palace, locked inside the body of a King's Mold. In order to bypass the seal,
Path of
the
Pain?
Knight must use a fully awakened Dream Nail. It can do this by bringing 1800 essence to the Seer, allowing her to sharpen the weapon's blade. If the Knight does this, the Seer remarks that the Knight truly is the wielder that her tribe has been dreaming of. There's no explicit reason why the Moth tribe was dreaming about this supposed wielder so much, but it seems like they believe the wielder would wash away the crimes the Moth tribe committed by turning their backs on the Radiance. The Seer seems to know that the Knight might kill the Radiance, and she seems accepting of it, ready for her and her tribe to disappear and be forgotten forever. With the awoken Dream Nail in hand,
Seer is like
the
making
Knight
like
can travel
a
to the Pale King's refuge
sacrifice
and locate
then.
the other half of the King's Soul charm.
It's like Sasuke.
The King
No, no,
Soul
sorry,
provides a
Itachi,
never-ending
Itachi,
supply of
Itachi.
soul,
Oh, Sasuke.
making it almost useful if it weren't for the insanely high cost of the charm, and the painful slow rate at which it increases. and the fact that the charm will get replaced in about 5 minutes after you get it. The King Soul charm itself symbolizes the union between two higher beings.
What does that charm do again?
It implies that the King Soul is a representation of a vessel, which also was created by the union of two higher beings. With the King Soul in their inventory,
why is it showing a cockroach fucking, man? God damn it.
Birthplace. In this massive pile of vessel shells,
it slowly
the
regenerates
knight can find a
soul.
giant
Ooh.
egg.
It's not that
Dreaming
good
the
though,
egg
right?
allows the knight to access its own memory when it was cast down into the abyss. From viewing that memory, the King Soul charm is replaced with the Void Heart charm. The recollection of this event allows the knight to come to terms with the void inside itself. Once the knight has the Void Heart, the shades in the abyss no longer attack it, and that strange creature that gives the knight the Shade Cloak calls it the Lord of Shades. In other words, the knight has now bound the once fragmented void under its own will, allowing it to control the void in a powerful new way. With the union of the void, the Pale King, and the White Lady, the knight has gained a strength before unseen. It is with this charm that 2 additional endings become unlocked.
Okay.
Hornet will now be standing outside of the Black Egg, offering to help the knight should the opportunity arrive.
Okay.
Midway through the fight with the Hollow Knight, Hornet rushes into battle, subduing the Hollow Knight and piercing its shell. It's at this point that the knight is given the perfect opportunity to enter into the mind of its sibling, fighting the source of the infection head on, and finally putting an end to the Radiance's tyranny. Or it can just stand there and let Hornet get knocked unconscious. If the knight finishes off the Hollow Knight as usual, the sealed sibling ending occurs. Basically, it's the same as the Hollow Knight ending, but now Hornet is in the room too, and her face appears on the door of the Black Egg.
Okay.
It's not clear what exactly this means for Hallownest. This might imply that Hornet is now a dreamer, but she's inside the temple, meaning that no one can actually get in there.
Not canon ending? Yeah, definitely not, right? Because we're literally playing Hornet.
At the same time, Hornet mentions that the bindings of the Black Egg would drain her, so she's probably just going to die anyway, right? Generally, people consider this to be one of the worst.
Yeah, because Hornet dies, right?
But it's worth pointing out that Team Cherry doesn't support any one ending as being the true ending. Each
also, I long that
ending is
ability. Nice banana, man.
way. And honestly, this ending isn't the worst.
Really?
At least the Knight and Hornet will get to spend some quality time together.
Okay.
If the Knight does dream nail the Hollow Knight, it will be taken to an arena where it can finally fight the Radiance head on. But the Knight isn't alone.
Oh, true ending and funny ending. There's a funny
will
ending?
appear in order to help corner the Radiance. Eventually, the Radiance gets trapped in the
Damn, the void helping
the
me.
Knight bitch slaps her a couple times.
The Knight
and the Radiance is
bitch.
consumed into the darkness. The Black Egg then appears to turn to shadows, and the void seeps down into the ground. Hornet awakens to find the Knight's broken shell lying on the floor. We get one final shot of the shades in the abyss going to rest, and the game is over.
Oh.
This ending is called the Dream No More ending. The Radiance is gone, and Hallownest is finally free from her infection.
Kinda sad though. Because we die,
I think
right?
it's fair to ask a few questions about how the Dream No More ending comes about. When the Hollow Knight was initially chosen to become the
Overcharming.
vessel, the abyss was sealed up, and the rest of the vessels were left to rot away.
That's one of true
But
endings.
somehow,
Yeah, I can see why it's like a
ended up
true
outside
ending.
of the abyss, and then one of those vessels was used to replace the Hollow Knight. Exactly how much of this operation was planned, if at all? The White Lady was waiting for a vessel. Did she have any communication with Hornet? Hornet was guarding the King's Brand, the only way for a vessel to enter the abyss. How did she know it was necessary to guard the King's Brand from weaker vessels? Hell, if the vessels did escape the abyss by themselves, wouldn't it be pointless to guard the King's Brand, since the vessels could just creep back into the abyss the same way? I'm not going to provide any good answers to these questions, because God forbid I answer anything in this entire video. But I do want to point out that no plans to actually produce the Dream No More ending are explicitly stated in-game. So we can only speculate
so much
as to
questions.
whether or not the White Lady or Hornet,
It's quite
or maybe
open-ended,
even
I
the Pale
guess.
King knew that they could defeat the Radiance by creating a Lord of Shades like the Knight. Regardless, the next 2 endings were definitely not planned. In fact, the last 2 endings that were added in the Godmaster update almost feel out of place. The
Okay.
Godseekers basically hijacked
Is this the MOSSBAG lore video? Yes, it is QC. What's up,
the
bro?
Black Egg to beat the game. That's like beating Mario Bros without ever seeing Bowser.
What?
But on the other hand, the Godmaster ending
And that's
basically
fucking
reinforced
Crash
that
Bandicoot,
Hallownest
no?
does not exist in a vacuum, which can help the world of Hollow Knight feel more real. Because what else is reality but just a bunch of random chaos?
It is indeed MOSSBAG. It's such a good
If
video
the
though.
Knight finds the
I'm
Godseeker
loving
in
it
the
so
jungle
far.
pit, it will be able to enter her mind and refight all the bosses in the game. This is part of the Godseeker's ritual. They basically attune to the resonance of gods through ritual combat. This allows them to ascend their minds higher, and eventually, through the use of godly focus, achieve communication with the gods sleeping in Hallownest's heart, the Radiants.
You have to fight every boss for this ending?
Convoluted little religious practice they have going on here.
No.
What's next? Are they going to start measuring the knight's Theon levels? It's pretty complicated, but the point is, these Godseekers have some serious capabilities to fuck things up in Hallownest, as we're about to see. As the knight makes it further and further through the 4 pantheons, the Godseekers
which I need to clear. I got the basic ending, which I became the next Hollow Knight.
The Hollow Knight. At the end of the 4th pantheon, the Radiance makes herself aware in this.
I just completed the game and just decided to watch a lore video.
But she isn't the only one to make an appearance. The Void itself appears to go on the attack, rising up to meet the Radiance's call. It's at this point that the final challenge, the Pantheon of Hallownest, becomes available.
Oh god.
The Godseeker finally acknowledges the knight as being more than just a simple cringer, and they begin to watch the knight more intently.
Damn.
After defeating like a bazillion bosses in the final Pantheon, the knight finally comes face to face with the Absolute Radiance, a stronger, more enhanced version of the game's final boss.
Well.
Finally, the stage is set. After roughly 40 minutes of intense agony and tedious boss battles, the knight has finally reached the ultimate.
Oh, thank God I didn't go for
responsible
this one.
the
What
destruction of
the?
Hallownest. Truly, this will be a battle for the ages. But first, let's check in on
God, what
pal Menderbug. As
Menderbug?
it turns out, he's still alive when the knight arrives in Hallownest, and he's still fulfilling his duty after all this time. Let's take one
What
last look at
the?
his diary.
My lovely diary. Someone's gone and broke my favorite sign. Right there at the top of the crossroads. Keeps happening too. But you know, I just...
What about Myla, by the way? Can we get some lore on Myla?
Really? More chances to
Is
fix.
still a lot to do for other endings? Yeah, but I decided to just move on to Silk Song though.
So I've no fear it'll ever stay broken for long.
Thank you. Oh, you know Q?
The only
Jay?
way to ever read the Menderbug's diary.
You want spoilers? Yeah,
is
I don't
to
mind
kill him in
Q, I don't mind.
blood. I'm not sure why Team Cherry thought this was necessary,
Wait, what?
but the general consensus on Reddit is that they are bloodthirsty warmongers, so it
Whoa,
checks
whoa,
out.
whoa! Did we
But
kill Menderbug?
This is blood. Unfortunately, the only way to ever read the Menderbug's diary is to kill him in cold blood. I'm not sure why Team
No.
Cherry thought this was necessary, but the general consensus on Reddit is that they are bloodthirsty warmongers, so it checks out. But at least Menderbug's last moments will be spent fixing
I didn't kill
one of his
Myla, by the
favorite
way.
signs in the Forgotten Crossroads.
Oh, wait, hold on.
It's
Let's continue.
comforting to think that his final seconds of consciousness were spent in total bliss, before we sent him hurtling into the infinite chasm that is Oblivion. Well, anyways,
Well, this is happy.
the alternate fight between the
Doing
Knight and
the-
Radiance
fixing
plays
the
out differently
signs.
than in the vanilla ending. This time around, the knight is not accompanied by any shades.
Grandpa Grub had a
Instead,
really nice
after
time. What does
defeating
that
the
mean?
Radiance, the knight seems to transform into this monstrosity. Now this creature goes
My
by
God, look at
many
the void.
names. The God of Gods, the Lord
Damn,
Shade,
the God of
Devourer,
Gods.
the Void Entity. But I don't
Lord
really
of
like any
Shades.
those, so I will just call him Bill.
Bill!
Bill proceeds to
God
completely
damn it.
annihilate the Radiance in spectacular fashion. We are then treated to the Embrace the Void ending. Bill comes back down from the sky, dropping into the rest of Godhome.
Whoa!
The Godseeker starts to get pulled into Bill by Void tendrils. We then cut to the Godseeker in the junk pit.
Whoa.
Void starts leaking out of her eyes, and it appears as though Bill is making an escape back into the real world, which is probably a bad thing? Finally, we see
Isn't
Hornet
it-
standing outside of the black egg as the infection begins to disappear from nearby vines. Hornet hears footsteps coming from inside the black egg as the Hollow Knight reveals itself to her and the two prepare for combat. So from this cutscene, we can see that the Radiance's death in Godhome actually did kill her for real, meaning that the infection over Hallownest is now gone. This means the seals inside of the black egg probably wore off, allowing the Hollow Knight to escape its prison. In other words, the Embrace of the Void ending is a goddamn cliffhanger. We have no
Oh!
idea how Team Cherry plans to follow this up.
Damn!
The Hollow Knight is running loose in Hallownest, and the Knight has transformed into a raging void monster that might try to destroy the entire kingdom,
Yeah, I guess
or at least
Whoa.
what's left of it. What's even more strange,
the world is
about
like
this ending
consumed
that
by
the
void or
sequel,
something.
Hollow Knight Silk Song doesn't seem to be related to this ending at all, but that's a whole different shit show. Obviously, the biggest mystery surrounding this ending is the appearance of Bill. Did this creature exist in the void already? Or was it somehow willed into existence by the power of the Godseekers?
Damn.
Did the
That's
knight
kind of
turn
cool
into
though,
this
like
thing, or
Lord
did it
of
just
Void,
become
like
a
gods
part
of
it?
gods. Ooh.
Examining a statue of
God
this
of
creature
gods.
and other forms of the night grant the player a hunter's journal entry for an ancient artifact called the Void Idol, which might imply this creature might
ate
have been
all of
worshipped by
them?
the ancient
What?
civilization. But again, that's pure speculation.
He ate
We don't know what this worship of Void exactly looked like. Maybe the Void they
We saved
worshipped
all
took the
the
form of
wor-
something
the
more
grubs
sinister.
for the
There is
grandpa
one
to
thing
eat
we know
all of
about
them.
This monster, though, it's weak
He was
to
hungry.
flowers.
All of them?
Yes, these things.
What?
As it turns out, those delicate flowers that Zamir has stockpiled up her ass are actually useful for something. They
Oh, wow.
contain a strange power that even deters the White Lady from touching one. The Godseeker, however, is dumb enough to accept a flower from the night.
Okay.
If the player does this, instead of Void being released out into the world, this flower pulls a no you, and the Godseeker and Void disappear into thin air.
Whoa, okay.
The flower itself is described as giving off a pale light, which appears to connect it to the pale beings. Like I said before, pale beings appear to be some form of top-tier gods. As of right now, we are only aware of two, the Pale King and the White Lady. But the fact that Zamir brought these pale flowers from a faraway land implies that there are definitely more of them out there. Another
Okay.
small hint of the existence of pale beings are the pale ore items
Oh,
that
yeah.
can be found all over Hallownest.
The pale
Did
ores.
these come from the Pale King, or possibly some other pale being? And what exactly are they? Are they poop?
Poop.
In general,
Oh, ew.
the Godmaster endings appear to be doing a lot of setup for future Hollow Knight content. Like I said before, Hollow Knight Silksong doesn't seem to connect these events on the surface, so we are in a bit of a bind when trying to discuss what these endings actually mean for the greater narrative Team Cherry is building. There's definitely a lot more to consider about what the Pale Beings are and what properties they possess. And we also have plenty of questions surrounding the Void and how bugs have interacted with it in the past. It almost feels like we're looking through a keyhole, trying to grasp onto the totality of Team Cherry's creation.
Oh,
How
they're like
powerful
cooking
are
up
creatures
like.
Bill and the worms.
True.
Where did things like the Void even come from?
Bro, he's
to
actually
begin
calling
with? How much
Lord of the
bigger is
Void Bill,
world
bro.
beyond Hallownest? Is Bardoon into butt stuff?
What?
But of course, that's the appeal
Butt
of a
stuff.
game like Hollow Knight. Having all
Hello?
of the answers to every question would just ruin the mystery of the world. Plus, if we didn't have questions like this to waste our time on, then what else would we be doing with our lives? Go outside? Ugh.
No, the
And
grass.
so this video comes to an end. Now
Aw.
I know the average attention span of a YouTube viewer is 9 minutes.
We made it, guys. We made it to the end of the video.
1. Hollow Knight is a game about bugs.
Okay.
I know this may come as a shock, but it's
I
true.
believe that.
Watch the video again, and this time, pay attention. You'll notice right away, I promise. 2. Murdering your own babies might not be such a good idea after all. I mean, this is obviously just my interpretation of the game's lore. Other people might have different views on the subject of murdering babies, and every opinion is valid, so I don't want to step on anyone's toes or anything. 3. Menderbug is fucking dead.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nothing is certain. This video probably has a few flaws in it. Trying to construct a cohesive narrative with the information found in Hollow Knight isn't exactly straightforward. I'm sure my views will change in the future, and I encourage you to explore the lore yourself. 5. And this last point is fairly obvious, but I should mention
Oh my
it anyway.
god.
Cory in the House is the best anime.
Anime. What? Okay, I think that's it, right? Wait, what? Wait. Are you guys? It sure is. Okay, why is everyone saying yes? Wait. You guys are gaslighting me, bro. Is Cory in the House actually an anime? Okay, that's besides the points, bro. Why are we talking about Cory in the House when we literally just watched the whole lore of Hollow Knight, bro? Okay, so what stood out to me was, okay, this is also because Hornet is the main character of a Silksong, but I don't know why Hera and Pale King's thing actually surprised the hell out of me, but yeah, interesting. And I really like how the whole lore came out, like how the infection started, I guess, is the Hollow Knight slowly cracking, I guess. And you can slowly see how the whole world is or should I say the whole Hallownest is getting affected by it. Because I think after you kill one of the dreamers, you're able to see like, you know, it's like everything is like orange and everything. If I remember correctly, Hera wanted a child badly, that badly. God damn, holy, god damn it, man. But yeah, regardless though, it's a good video. I loved it. Yeah, we'll recommend anyone who wants to know about this. I almost say Silk Song, but yeah, Hollow Knight lore to watch this one.